to infinity and beyond.
This is me. This is how I win.
Were you rushing or were you dragging? Answer!
You're a wizard, Harry.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you.
No, I am your father.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
And here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back inside the film room. Zach Goins here with Johnny Sobchak. Johnny, how are you doing today?
How the heck am I doing? I'm doing pretty well, all things considered. It's a Monday. It's been
a
weird.
rainy Monday in Raleigh. I don't know about
a rainy
you
Monday in our neck of the woods in North Carolina. Back to work. Craziness happening on social media. Who knows what's going on with all that?
RIP Facebook.
RIP Facebook, but not the rest in peace bit. Something else. And we're feeling pretty good. There's movie buzz is happening. Film festivals still going on, including one again in our own neck of the woods that's coming out that we're going to be talking about very soon. I'm just October is off to like a roaring start. We saw Titane over the weekend.
You're thrilled for one particular reason today, or I guess a number of reasons depending on how many tickets you purchased, but your 11 o'clock was pretty busy, was it not?
It sure was. Yeah, Dune tickets finally went on sale in the US, and it was I couldn't believe it, honestly. Like, it is strange, like it's getting closer. It's still weeks away, of course, but like it's just kind of like surreal. I'm not really going to believe it until I'm in the theater
until
watching
you're in the theater for either first, second, third, and fourth viewing.
I do have so opening night, Thursday night, 6 p.m. As soon as I get off work, I go over there in IMAX with my brother and his wife. And then I'm figuring out, I have a ticket to see it right after that in IMAX, like the same theater and everything.
Just
so
stay in the same seat.
Yeah, yes. So I might do a double header that way, or maybe I'll spread it out, maybe go Friday night. And then Saturday, I have a ticket for 3 p.m. and then a ticket for 7 p.m. in Raleigh at the Marbles Museum, IMAX, the best IMAX, probably the best movie, venue in the state, which I'm really excited about. I've been to some awesome shows there. And then I think I plan on seeing it with my girlfriend, Reagan, probably the next day, maybe Sunday, and then with my sister and her fiance on Monday, potentially. So there's a good 4 to 6 viewings in that first like weekend, basically.
Wow. I would expect nothing less. And while you're in the theater, you're going to have HBO Max running on
absolutely
your phone, your laptop, your TV, every device possible, I would imagine.
We're making it work. What's your ticket situation, Zach? You seemed a little confused earlier.
My situation is up in the air. Dependent. It is dependent. So when everything went on sale at 11 a.m., for some reason, I know you got your 6 p.m. at AMC in IMAX in Fayetteville, but then for myself, the AMC's in Raleigh for some reason didn't have any Thursday night showings listed. I could see like the one at, like your theater was one of the closest ones that it said for a Thursday night one, which is like at least an hour away.
Yeah.
But so that wasn't working. They had showings on Friday listed. So I got a Friday 2:50, sometime mid-afternoon Friday in IMAX at South Point in Durham, and then I got a Regal screening at 6 p.m. on Thursday night but that's just regular. That's not IMAX, which is not ideal. So I'm hoping to cancel that and not have to go through with that. And then you suggested the IMAX Marbles, which is at 7 p.m. in IMAX on opening night. So that will ideally be the play. I did not get to use any memberships there, unfortunately. Be no AMC Stubs or Regal Unlimited, which I am for some reason a member of both at this point.
Yeah, what the hell is going on with that? I was confused when you said that earlier.
Well, so I was going to make the switch to Regal, and then I basically, so Regal charges extra for like IMAX, and so the first month,
wow, really?
Right. So you can get unlimited, and then it's like a $5 surcharge for IMAX.
Okay.
So the first month I actually just like, because I signed up for Regal in the midst of like a payment cycle for AMC. And so like I was like, I'm just gonna let it run its course, and then I'll cancel like before it renews. And I forgot. And then but then I was like, well, in that time I still like went back to AMC to see like 2 things in IMAX. So like I was like, does it I'm still having this inner argument of like, does it justify it to keep both if I'm gonna go to AMC for IMAX and then use Regal for like everything else? Because the AMC is like 25 to 30 minutes from my apartment versus Regal, which is like right around the corner. So
interesting.
Like if I'm just going to see something that's not a Dune or like or if it's like a second viewing of something, you know,
I guess it probably, I don't know. I feel like if I were you, I mean, I've always liked AMC. I mean, I've had my pass for like 3 years now. But yeah, that's tough. I feel like maybe it would just make more sense to just pay out of pocket for the IMAX and whatnot, and everything else is just going to be just more convenient. But
yeah, we'll see. Like, we'll see if I remember to cancel. I know I can go ahead and cancel and it'll continue, but I kind of just like, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see. I like having the option of both, you know, versus because like the Regal theaters over here, nothing was playing. Titane was not playing at the Regal theaters. I could only see that at AMC. So like in this case, had I canceled my AMC, I would be down like $12 already in AMC money this month, having gone to see that. So we'll see. We'll play it out. But speaking of Titane, change of plans. I know we closed out last week's episode saying that we were going to do a Bond retrospective this week in preparation for No Time to Die. But a surprising turn of events. Johnny has his art house theater. For some reason, AMC was playing Titane. I was surprised to learn, not for some reason, I was surprised to learn that it was playing it. And so we pulled an audible during the week, both got to check out the pride and joy of I'm getting just absolutely fucked by these French words today. Titane from Cannes, the Palme d'Or winner. Was that correct? Palme d'Or?
Yeah, all spot on.
Okay. Wow. I am French. So we are reviewing Titane. We got news as always, and that's the schedule. So you're gonna have to squeeze in your own Bond homework on your own time. Johnny and I will not be participating, but No Time to Die this coming week, and we'll be reviewing that next week. So exciting times, like you said. October off to a hot start. Johnny, anything else going on in your cinematic life or regular life?
No, I mean, Titane, that was the first film that I had seen in almost a month, not just in theaters, but in my life. Because September was just so hectic and busy, and you know, it was nice to be back in the theater for an exciting movie that, you know, we've been looking forward to for a few months with just all the hype surrounding it. But yeah, other than that, I will say it's not film, but I had been pressing Reagan to get into Game of Thrones. I've been wanting to show it to her. We've been dating for 2.5 years now. And I remember on our first date, I was telling her about how the series finale was right around the corner and how everyone was like really, you know, kind of feeling a little bit, you know, hesitant and a little concerned about where it might be going, but it was still like how much I loved it, how exciting it was. And then surely, you know, as we all know, it went completely off the rails and crashed and burned, unfortunately. And so in the last like 2.5 years since that first day, it's been kind of like, well, I'm never showing her Game of Thrones. I'm never talking about Game of Thrones. There's no point. But I don't know. I guess I've come around. I've been watching a lot of like Alt Shift X as a YouTuber who I watch a lot. I got into him in college, and he talks about Game of Thrones. He does a lot of videos based on the books and the shows and whatnot. And it it got me back into it. I'm just like, man, I really miss like watching it. Like I wonder how I would feel if I would.
I'm not someone who's like gonna allow, like I'm definitely with you saying like that final season and even parts of the 7th season were not good, but I'm not someone who's like, this was so bad that it retroactively ruined phenomenal season 1 through 6,
Right. No.
So like,
I don't think,
I didn't like, it wasn't everything that it could have been, but I wasn't like, I hate my life because of the Game of Thrones ending or anything, it's still like bearable to me, and there are parts of it that I enjoy. So,
well, I will say I hate it. I hate how it ends. I think it's a terrible ending. I think the last season was just a complete disaster. Of course, I still think that that's separate from how good the rest of the show was. Most of the show was previous to that. But I think it's tougher for me knowing that, like, if I'm showing it to her, I know where it's going. I know how badly
you feel like you're leading her into a trap.
Exactly. So it's like there's a whole nother context to it. But anyway, we spent, we live in separate cities. So every time I go to visit for, a couple days, few days at a time, I would try to, she's busy, I'm busy, but I would try to get, 1 or 2 episodes knocked out. So over the last month, I would say we were able to somehow get season 1 done. And she like was kind of timid at first, like slowly getting into it. It's like a lot of characters and names and stuff. Of course, anyone who's gotten into Game of Thrones probably has some trouble catching on in the beginning. And then so we finished on Saturday night. We finished season 1. And we finished season 2 yesterday afternoon. So she was hooked after like that wrapped up and things got kind of crazy. And season 2, of course, it just gets bigger and crazier. So we flew through that, and she's loving it. And I'm excited when I go back to start up season 3. And because I feel like season 3 and 4 are really like the prime. I think most people would say are like the best of the best. So I'm really excited, and I really did forget like how much I loved it, and just getting to watch it all again for the first time in years was really, really exciting. And I'm slowly but surely kind of getting over my grieving period, I guess, that has been lasting the last couple of years. But yeah, other than that, I mean, that's what the main focus has been. Of course, should be getting to more like horror movies and spooky season stuff here sooner than later. She's been wanting to watch Midnight Mass, so I'm sure that's around the corner as well. But yeah, other than that, nothing too crazy.
Well, I will say, going back before we wrap up on Game of Thrones, season 2 of the beyond just like the finale, like season 2 is probably like one of the slower parts of it. So to breeze through that's an encouraging sign, and I'm excited for you guys, like you said, to get into 3, 4, that stretch right there. But you mentioned Midnight Mass. That's been my jam this last week after Avery, who was on last week, hyped it up so much. We have been getting through it, Rebecca and I, and we're finishing up the finale tonight, or watching the finale, finishing up the series. And I'm very excited for it. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. It's heavy. It's a lot. It's very interesting and intriguing. It's not quite, I wouldn't say it's similar at all to like Hill House or Bly Manor or anything like that Mike Flanagan has done before, because it's not like, I mean, there's a little bit of like eeriness to it, but it's an overall just sort of like, I don't know, it's not like ghosts or like spooks or something like similar to those shows. It's very much, I know Avery mentioned like the whole, like it's super religious and like all about like the church and like fanaticism and obsession and like the way that like that can grip communities. So that's been super good.
I've heard it's very Stephen King-esque.
Yeah, I could see those comparisons. Kate Siegel is great as always. She's a Mike Flanagan staple. I believe his wife as well, right?
Yeah, she is his wife, pretty sure.
But she's great. So is my boy Matt Saracen. Texas forever, Clear Eyes, Full Heart, Can't Lose. But other than that, Titane, of course, check that out in theaters. Was kind of when, like, I remember watching the trailer for that when
The trailer's so
it
good.
first came out, and I don't really like remember the trailer that much. So I went into this movie
Interesting.
very blind, which was kind of how that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was a good way to approach this, because like, as instead of having like a preconceived notion of what it was just like, since it's such like a batshit crazy movie, like I
Yeah.
was able to just like roll with it and be like, okay, now we're doing this. But more on that in a bit. And then you'll be so proud of me, Johnny. I watched an old movie, The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, okay. Wow, that is
which
old. Like
I
30s, right?
know that's 1954.
Okay.
To in addition to my, my midnight mass being spooky season viewing, I checked out an old horror movie. So, I can't say it's necessarily spooky anymore, being
Right.
almost 70 years later,
Yeah,
but I could see why it was scary at the time in the 1950s.
sure. There's
But
I mean, I haven't seen it, but I am familiar with it, of course. It's like one of those, classic movie monsters.
right, I was on the like the Criterion channel, which I think I had mentioned to you. My brother got me like so I'm almost done with it, but I had a year-long membership that he got me for my birthday last year. And like when it turned to October, one of their things was like, one of their tabs was Universal Horror. So it's like got all of the classics, like Frankenstein and
Yeah.
Creature from the Black Lagoon, like all those movies. So I was trying to feel cultured.
Well, I'm glad that you're getting it's two birds with one stone. You got your classic cultured cinema and your spooky cinema as well.
Exactly. And it was, forget a crisp 90. This movie right here is a crisp 80. So crisp 79.
Wow.
If we're really getting technical here. But
Hey,
so that was just like,
see it.
that was like watching a long episode of television nowadays. So
Right.
well, shall we get into the news of the week, Jonathan?
Absolutely. And never call me Jonathan ever again.
It slipped out.
Perverse.
I apologize, Johnny. Let's get down to it. So you alluded to it off the top, but local film festival, Film Fest 919. That's the festival that goes down every year in Chapel Hill. It started up during our time in college and really just kind of like burst onto the scene. First year, they had Roma, they had Green Book, they had Yalitza Aparicio and Marina de Tavira from Roma on the red carpet. They had, who was it? Peter Farrelly. Or no, sorry, it wasn't Peter Farrelly. That was the director of Green Book. It was one of the co-writers. I want to say it was Nick Vallelonga. I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So that he was there.
And they also had Anthony McCartan for the two popes a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so they like, it really just came like, it wasn't like, let's have a couple of years to get our feet under us and then maybe we'll get a big movie. Like they came out swinging, and every year has just gotten better and better. I know. So like I said, that first year, Green Book, Best Picture winner, questionable, but it was there. And then to follow that up, Parasite was at Film Fest 919. Obviously, Best Picture winner last year. They had Nomadland on their slate. So if you're looking to win Best Picture, you need to come to Film Fest 919. And there are some promising options this year. So the festival, which runs from October 18th through October 24th, again in Chapel Hill, released the slate. We've got a lot of big movies. Opening will be King Richard, the Will Smith-led Warner Brothers film about the father of Venus and Serena Williams. Centerpiece is Come On with Joaquin Phoenix. And the closer is Spencer, the Princess Diana biopic with Kristen Stewart. And then amongst all those, there's quite a few big time movies. The French Dispatch. Here we go. Another French one. Petite Maman, Red Rocket, Mass, The Lost Daughter, The Hand of God, and quite a few more. Johnny, I know we were both kind of blown away. Like you sent in the group, like, wow, 919 absolutely crushed it this year. this was a solid lineup.
Yeah, I mean, they, as you pointed out, they have hit the ground running the last couple of years, and just been incredibly impressive with their programming, using their resources and their context to the fullest effect. And when we were going to school in Chapel Hill, that was just such a luxury and great opportunity to be able to attend it, as a fan, and then also as a critic and a writer later on, and getting to do interviews. And it was just they run a really great show over there, and I definitely support it 100%. Highly recommend if you're in the area, the region, to check into it, consider going. I'm certainly going to try to get over there at some point on Dune opening weekend. Once
right, I was going to say that's the only downside of this is that it is going down the weekend that Dune opens, and as we heard at the top, your weekend is pretty busy, it seems.
It's pretty busy, but hopefully we can get the schedule out soon. I really do want to check at least one film out. They have, as you pointed out, a very impressive stacked, loaded, whatever you want to call it, slate. And I would say the highlight, Spencer. I mean, that's been such a big draw and such a big topic of the last few weeks, ever since it premiered at Venice. And Kristen Stewart seems to be like the very strong front runner at this point to win Best Actress. King Richard's going to be a big movie, I think, from Warner Brothers. Will Smith's probably going to win the Oscar for that. And then just all these other, especially the foreign language films, I think, the international films, whether it's things like Petite Maman, The Hand of God, which I've really been looking forward to as well. Flea from Neon, which has been getting a ton of buzz as well. I've seen Mass, that was at Sundance. That's a great film that I highly recommend checking out. So yeah, they are crushed it, as I said, and I fingers crossed get that schedule soon, figure something out, I can make it up that way and peep it.
Well, we are Inside the Film Room is accredited to cover the festival. We will be there. I will be there. Hopefully Johnny will be there in attendance as well. Like you said, schedule is still to be determined. They've released all the movies that are going to be there, but as far as what's playing when beyond just the opening, centerpiece, and closer, that's still coming. It'll be at Silver Spot Cinema on the indoor screens there in the theater, and then also they're keeping the drive-in aspect of the festival at the Caraway Drive-In in Chapel Hill as well. So whatever you feel safest doing as a viewer, you should have options to check out these movies either way, which is super exciting. For myself, I would say, I was going to say earlier that I said the thing about Best Picture winners. I don't know if that's going to carry on this year. We'll see. I know I
don't think it will. I was going to say that, but
especially considering like everything that you've written up, and if you're basing it off of that, I don't think so. But like you mentioned, it could be Best Actor and Best Actress, yes, both being here with King Richard and Spencer. So right. I think if you had to lose out on Best Picture, that getting both of those will be a pretty solid replacement.
Absolutely. And certainly some Best Picture maybe not contenders, but nominees, I think, in this field as well.
Right. Definitely. I'm excited to check that out. But moving on from Film Fest 919, we have some news on something we've been following for a bit now with the Wonka origin film. It has officially begun filming and added quite a few cast members. Obviously, this is starring Timothée Chalamet as the young Willy Wonka, and now Rowan Atkinson, Sally Hawkins, and Olivia Colman have been added to the cast. So a lot of big time British actors there. What are your thoughts? Do you have thoughts? I know it's starting to come together a little bit more concrete than this kind of strange idea that it was first presented as.
So months ago when this came up, I mean, this has been something that's been in the works for a long time. Warner Brothers had been wanting to do a Willy Wonka film, a spinoff, I guess. I don't know, it's such a weird approach to it, and I don't know at what stage what was being planned or who was involved or attached. I remember, this might be multiple years ago now, but I remember Donald Glover and Ryan Gosling were two names that were actually in the mix at one point, which I think those both would have been pretty interesting or pretty awesome. I love both those actors, and Now, of course, it seems like it has evolved from whatever that was to an origin with a younger Willy Wonka. And apparently, Timothy Chalamet, of course, got the role, but Tom Holland was said to be the other contender. Of course, we know Tom Holland. He's very athletic, can dance, and all that stuff. Everyone's seen his umbrella routine on the lip sync show. So that would have been interesting. But I'm glad it went to Chalamet because I do like him more as an actor. And I think that the opportunity for him to be in a like full blown musical, I think is going to be really cool because he is, he has a theater background, musical theater, total, loser material. But no, but like he is, I think that's something interesting because he is, of course, very well known as an actor at this point. But he does have that like in his arsenal, and that hasn't really, been apparent, I don't think, for anyone who doesn't like know his background. So that's really exciting. And then of course you have, I think the biggest point of optimism outside of his involvement is Paul King, who did the Paddington films, wrote and directed those, which, universal acclaim all the way around. I haven't seen those films. I do plan to get to them at some point, especially in the 2 years between now and when this movie comes out. But yeah, with that guy at the helm, Chalamet in the lead, and then of course the rest of this cast that got filled out with some, incredibly talented people. Keegan-Michael Key was reported a few weeks ago. Now Olivia Colman, Oscar winner, Sally Hawkins, Oscar nominee Rowan Atkinson, among others. It just seems like they have a really cool, vision for this, and like it's gonna, be populated with some really interesting characters. And then on the crew side of things, they also have a ton of talent as well. Lindy Hemming, Oscar, nominated costume designer. She did the Wonder Woman films. She also did the Paddington films. Christopher Nolan's production designer is doing the production design on this. The music and the lyrics, I think, is going to be really interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to be excited about this. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how it turns out.
I will say this is from Warner Brothers, who did the previous Wonka films, but Netflix did just drop a bag to acquire the Roald Dahl estate, I guess, or whatever, like the Roald Dahl film wing.
They bought his corpse to use.
They are propping up the corpse in the meeting room. But so I know there's like a Taika Waititi, I don't remember which property it is, but he's like doing some Roald Dahl film, and then there's going to be like different series. And so it's interesting that they're kind of squeezing this out before everything goes Netflix way.
Yeah, that is strange. I'm not really sure what all the details are there, because it was funny that news kind of came right around this point.
This says Taika and Academy Award nominee Phil Johnson are now hard at work on a series based on the world of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Sony and Working Title are working on an adaptation of Matilda the musical, which would be part of the Netflix side of things.
All right. Well, I'm definitely more excited for this than any of that, I will say, if nothing else.
Definitely.
But yeah, this will be interesting. I don't think this is, people always say, well, who asked for this? We don't need that, et cetera, et cetera. But, whether or not we needed a Willy Wonka origin story or any other Willy Wonka film, I think that this will be worthwhile, fingers crossed.
Hopefully. Let's chat about a few different trailers, posters, teasers that we've gotten this week. First up, Disney Animation's Encanto. This is not Pixar, but as I'm sure you know, Johnny, but just to clarify for the viewers, it's the Disney animation like Zootopia, like Frozen, Moana, that side of Disney animation. And this is their latest hopeful holiday hit, I would say, coming November 21st. Any thoughts on the trailer? It seems basic premise. This has music from Lin-Manuel Miranda in it, so there's going to be some sort of musical aspect. But the premise is that this big family lives in a house, and everyone in the house has some sort of like, not magical power, but some sort of, it's not like superpowers, but like one can like transform themselves into other people. One is super strong. One is just like really graceful, I guess. But then there's one young girl who does not have any powers at all, and all the powers start to go away. And so it's up to this one girl to save the day. So set in Colombia. Any thoughts here on this trailer?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I think it's very, not, I don't want to say typical. But it's
Well,
kind
that's
of like
exactly what I thought.
it's what you expect from Disney, like animation at this point. They do that thing as well where they take like another culture and they do the princess spin on
It's
it.
the same story, but like with the Colombian twist, it seems.
Yes. And so you have your princess, you have your funny little creature sidekicks that are going to sell, all the plush toys. And hey, admittedly, I'm a sucker for capybaras. They're cute as hell, and there is one in this, so that is probably enough to get me in the door. But I hope Lin-Manuel also kind of hit or miss, at least for me, and like I feel like there's a lot of kind of I don't know how to describe it, not criticism necessarily, but people are feeling kind of like burnt out on him, I think, to a degree. It doesn't help that this is like his third film of the year where he's going to be doing involved with and going to have his face out there and music and whatnot. But I think that if nothing else, it'll be like a fun, little holiday adventure movie to go check out, right around Thanksgiving here in the US.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same.
These out before.
I was going to say it's the same slot where like Moana was November 23rd. Frozen was right around then. So was Frozen 2, November 27th. So they seem to try and get, post Thanksgiving, pre-Christmas, get the families in the theaters and check it out. But I can't imagine that this, based on what I've seen so far, that this rivals anywhere near, either of those movies as far as ticket sales or just popularity, catchy music, anything like that.
Right.
Looks fine. I'll definitely see it, but I'm not, dying to see it. It didn't show me anything that seemed particularly unique to this movie or this world that they're building here.
Right.
Which is, I mean, like, just talking about Frozen, like I don't know, the powers aren't going away, but like the town is covered, the city is covered in snow, and it's up to this one person to go and save the day. Like,
right.
The powers are going away. It's up to this one girl to go and save the day. Like you said, kind of just transplant that same core principle into a different setting and redo it. So I'm sure it'll be fine. It's Disney. They always pump out like,
right. Yeah.
It's always like good, like acceptable to great, like I don't think you're ever going to go and see something that's like, you're going to regret having spent an hour and a half watching it, So
yeah, I mean that's pretty much right.
Not a glowing endorsement from us for Encanto, but I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Yeah,
a lot to look forward to there, but something.
There's just so much other good stuff, like very exciting,
right?
Potentially more original stuff. So it's like
I also feel like this was kind of like we knew it was coming, but like it kind of just like they did the teaser a while ago, and then like it seems, or it's still like over a month in advance that they're dropping the trailer, but like it just kind of seems like it. I don't know. Obviously, Pixar is different from Disney animation, but all still Disney. Like Luca kind of snuck up on everybody, and this is kind of sneaking up too. Like, right. I don't know. They don't have their Dune marketing scheme out there.
Yeah, it's like, well, I think, is there any Disney Plus like element to this, or is it strictly theatrical?
I think it's just theatrical.
I think it is too. So yeah, it's like, I don't know. I wonder if they kind of not killed their brand, of course, but like, they put Soul onto Disney Plus, and they put Luca onto Disney Plus, and those are Pixar films.
And Raya.
And Raya, yeah, exactly. So that is Disney animation. So it's like, I don't want to say it doesn't. I don't know. It just feels less. And I saw Raya in theaters, like I saw it in IMAX, and I didn't love that film, but I feel like there's definitely some elements of like hype or event kind of status like missing, and I don't know if it's directly related to the pandemic or what, but it's gonna be interesting to see at least how that performs, if nothing else.
Definitely. Well, so one that we are, I would say, is definitely more excited for and is coming sooner, The Harder They Fall on Netflix November 3rd, and it's hitting select theaters prior to that. I don't know if Johnny or I will have access in our neck of the woods to check that out in theaters. But a cowboy movie, but it's a black cowboy movie, which is, pretty rare, I would say. How do we feel about this? It's guns blazing. It looks almost like a Quentin Tarantino style movie with like excessive violence and stylization. I watched the trailer right before we hopped on this, and I was very into it. I mean, you've got Idris Elba, Jonathan Majors, Regina King, Zazie Beetz, Lakeith Stanfield, like a who's who of the top black performers right now.
Yeah, it's definitely has a kind of like almost like blaxploitation like vibe to it, like almost like not grindhouse, but like it has that kind of, it's like a throwback in a lot of ways stylistically, and but again taking that and putting it through the lens of black people in the United States in the American West. And I don't know, for me, I don't know if you took anything away from like the story elements necessarily or how that might play into it, but like I think that's just at least is going to be interesting from the aesthetics, if nothing else, the style that that they're approaching this with. I think it could be fun, violent, exciting. I don't know how. I'm not expecting like one of the greatest westerns ever made or anything like that, but
right.
I'm expecting it to be interesting and kind of a breath of fresh air potentially in the genre, especially right now. Like the westerns are essentially dead. Like everyone says that. It's kind of beating a dead horse, no pun intended. But like, I think if nothing else, it's exciting to just see a western and not only to see the typical, oh, it's the guy, the good guy and the bad guy, the black hat and all that basic stuff. It's more kind of like revisionist, and really not revisionist for film history, but in the real American history in the American West, there are more black cowboys than white cowboys or something like that. I think is like one of the somewhere I like heard something to that effect. So I think that's something that can be explored more in film and in fiction in general. So I'm excited to see, especially with this cast, as you pointed out. I mean, it's not like they just got anyone for this movie. They got some of the biggest, best names in the industry, young, old, men, women. And I'm excited. Jonathan Majors in particular, who's hot coming off of, Loki and his MCU work. And Idris Elba, of course, Suicide Squad. Regina King is always amazing. So yeah, I'm definitely interested and looking forward to checking this out.
And I forgot to mention Delroy Lindo in here as well. So another all-time great right there. But one thing that's interesting here, so the director, James Samuel, also known as The Bullets, is a British singer, songwriter, music producer, and filmmaker. So it's not like this is coming from like a prestige filmmaker or anything like that.
Right.
Like his filmography includes 2 short films and that's it. This is being produced by Jay-Z, which is one of the short films that he had done previously was for Jay-Z. So very interesting. Like that could be another thing, like, talking about like the stylization that we're seeing in the trailer or something. Like there could be very unique, non-traditional elements here. That seem like a lot of fun. It could be, I feel like honestly, it could be either hit or miss. It could be like either really fun and like a breath of fresh air, like you said, or it could just be like, okay, this is a little too much. Like let's get back to normal.
Yeah, that's a fair point, and that's I've been thinking that in regards to this movie for a long time, but when you have a young filmmaker, someone who's just doing their first feature, it could go either way. I mean, it could be middle of the road, or it could go south, or it could go, way, way high, like someone, Jordan Peele, for example, with his, with Get Out, which was just a nuts kind of runaway success. This obviously is completely different, but if you can make an impact with your style, if nothing else, and get people to pay attention to you in that way, that can open doors and other opportunities too.
Definitely. Well, couple other pieces of news here. We talked about it last week, so we don't have to beat a dead horse here to take your cowboy pun. But we got the day after we talked about the Book of Boba Fett and not knowing when it's coming out. We got a poster for it and we got a release date, December 29th. They're barely squeezing it in there to make good on their December 2021 promise, but not much given away. I mean, we see Boba Fett on the Jabba the Hutt crime family throne,
He's right where we
which
left.
is right where we left him at the end of the stinger for season 2 of The Mandalorian, the finale there. So we obviously knew that coming in, that he's going to be taking over the crime syndicate. He's going to be him and Finnick, just kind of bounty hunting and doing their thing there, settling some old scores. So cool poster. It looks like he's got a little bit more of his armor together as he was kind of putting the pieces back together and, reclaiming the Boba Fett of days past. But December 29th, excited. That basically means like we've got the Hawkeye run for 6 weeks starting in late November. So right around the time that wraps up, we'll get cranked up with Book of Boba Fett, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. No doubt. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, as we all know at this point, but I love The Mandalorian, and if this is anything like that, I don't see why this shouldn't be really enjoyable and fun to check out. Is it going to be? I wonder. Probably weekly, right?
Yes. I mean, that's the way that they do Mando and everything else. So I would imagine
the MCU shows. So that's gonna be fun. Start the new year.
Definitely. Talk to me about Apple. We know they're the real deal in TV because of Ted Lasso and multiple other shows. What's popping on the cinematic front, Johnny?
Yeah. Well, this kind of came out of nowhere. There was this report a little while back, like last week, I think, or the week before that, where John Watts, who is known for directing the most recent Spider-Man movies starring Tom Holland, he is, of course, also, as people know, attached to direct a Fantastic Four movie at some point. But he has a non-MCU project, I guess, in the works that he's written and wants to direct. And it was like this package. It was like getting tossed all around town. And the reason why everyone was vying to buy it up was because it's starring Brad Pitt and George Clooney. So that is, a big draw in and of itself. It's not entirely clear what kind of story this is going to be. It's a thriller. And Apple, they certainly have the cash to splash, as we all know. So, and they've been making very aggressive and interesting and exciting acquisitions lately, really for the last year plus. So I think I could see it coming a mile away, but it's, no less exciting. And I think something that's really promising about this report as well is that between John Watts and Brad Pitt and George Clooney, they all were really pushing to get a robust theatrical release as part of the package. And so this isn't something where, you're going to be kind of forced to watch it on Apple TV Plus. If you want to go see it in a theater, it should be pretty widely available. If that's the way you want to see it, then hopefully that'll, they can work that out where it's going to be pretty accessible. So that, I think, is always a plus with these streaming deals. And because when they are competing against the traditional studios, that's always something that comes to mind. And I think, with Christopher Nolan, he just had that deal with Universal, and that was, a big part of it, something that had been talked about a lot. So I think this is really interesting. I don't know what to think of John Watts. I know we both like the Spider-Man movies to varying degrees, but also don't really know what he can do outside of those, at least, with the experience he has now with those big budget movies. So this is gonna be interesting. I mean, who knows what the budget on this is gonna be like. It could be a huge like spy kind of like action thriller, or it could be something a little bit more cerebral and like low key. But when you have two big, acting giants, like Pitt and Clooney, I think you couldn't really go wrong either way.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, we talked last week about all of the different shows that we were excited for coming to Apple, and what we've liked so far from them. And we know that they're doing just as much. It hasn't really paid off yet because everything's still in the works, but doing just as much on the movie side of things. I mean, I know I haven't watched it yet, but Coda just came out recently and was a pretty big hit, I would say, compared to some of their other stuff. And then we've got a Scorsese movie coming. We've got The Tragedy of Macbeth is going to be on Apple TV. This movie. What else? There's a couple other
did you mention Kit Bag?
Kit Bag is going to be Apple as well. The Ridley Scott Napoleon Bonaparte movie. Like they're quickly
Emancipation as well.
Oh yeah. So
Will Smith.
There's a lot in the pipeline for them, and I think it won't be too long before their movie output is as well established as what they've done fairly quickly on the TV front as well. So this is just another example of what they're willing to invest in, you know?
Yeah, no, I think this is, again, I'm happy to see it because I do know that they have the money, they have the resources to get these, not only get these movies made and get them made well, but to also then, as this one's going to have, get them into theaters. If that's, you know, something that they are interested in. Obviously, Netflix, they have their own kind of theatrical bit, but they're very much committed and reliant on the streaming aspect more than anything else. And I think this is something Apple can do to kind of differentiate itself a little bit and take some extra risks and appeal to maybe talent differently even than Netflix could.
Definitely. Well, speaking of Ridley Scott and Kit Bag, there's another Ridley Scott movie in the works. I'm going to let this one go to you as the only person on this podcast who has watched Gladiator, but Gladiator 2 in the works with Ridley Scott and will start production in late 2022, early 2023. I don't think this is exciting to you, Johnny. Is that correct?
Yeah, I had to let it be known on Twitter that I simply disapprove of this. Now I will say, to be clear, I love Gladiator. I think Gladiator is a pretty awesome movie. It's not one of the best movies ever made or anything like that, but it's a fun, epic kind of movie that they just simply don't make anymore. And so I will say, in that sense, the idea of doing a Gladiator 2, the idea of Ridley Scott getting $150 million to go make a big, epic historical film again is exciting. That's part of why I'm looking forward to Kit Bag. But on the other hand here, we have the fact that Ridley Scott, you know, doesn't have the best batting average. He's a little more miss than hit these days. And I just think that he is someone who clearly is interested in going back and messing with his films, you know, making sequels, making spin-offs, expanding films that don't really necessarily need to be expanded. Look at how he went back to Alien and did like a prequel. He did Prometheus, he did Alien Covenant. He's trying to explain all these things. And then with Blade Runner, that was another movie that he could have done. Blade Runner 2049, he could have directed that, and he ended up not. Villeneuve had to come in and do it. And I feel like the movie we got from Villeneuve is just, I can't even imagine miles better than what Ridley Scott potentially probably would have made, given his sensibilities at this point in his career and the critiques that he had of 2049 in the wake of its release, saying that it was too slow, too long, not commercial enough. That just doesn't sound like the mindset of someone who I feel like is potentially going to be doing their best work at this point. So it's a little bit more mixed, I guess, maybe than I felt initially, but who knows? If the script's decent, if the cast could be decent, you know, you can't completely write it off. I mean, The Martian came out, 6 years ago now? I think that was
The Martian.
We love The Martian, but it was 6 years ago. This guy is in his 80s. And these are big, exhaustive films. And I have no doubt Ridley Scott, I mean, he's the fact that he's out here doing this is amazing. And I certainly can't take anything away from him in that regard. But I just wish, instead of trying to do 2 movies a year or a movie a year, I wish he would just kind of slow down and like take his time, really dig into each project that he has, especially when they're so big. Instead, I mean, it's amazing that he has The Last Duel and House of Gucci coming out this year. And then he's going right into Kit Bag. And then he's saying, oh, right after I'm done with Kit Bag next year, I'm going to go into Gladiator 2. I just feel like I wish that we were getting a little bit more comprehensive, thorough projects that he like just really focuses in on. But he seems pretty hell bent on making this movie. And this is a sequel that has been like talked about for years now. The movie's 20 years old, over 20 years old. So fingers crossed. I hope it's certainly great. I hope, and maybe it could be. And there's certainly things I imagine I will like about it, regardless of what happens. But I would say I'm not even cautiously optimistic. I would just say I'm kind of like pessimistic about the situation.
You hate to hear it. As someone who has not seen Gladiator, I cannot comment.
Oh my God, dude. What the hell? Go
dude,
watch
you watched it within the last year. Don't do that to
Gladiator.
me. You've seen it semi recently for the first time. So lay off, brother. I don't want to hear it from you. I hear it enough about other movies, but I will not stand for it on this one.
All right. Well, there's a movie that both of us have seen.
It's true.
Very recently, as a matter of fact. And that is the next segment of our show that I'm sliding into at the moment. And that film is Titane, Zach. Did you know that?
Titane, not Titan, not not Teton, not Titane, Titane.
Titane, the Palme d'Or winner,
Johnny,
from just a few months ago at the Cannes Film Festival. Really kind of shocked everyone. This was not a movie that anyone expected to win the Palme d'Or. Julia Ducournau, she is really best known for Raw, which is a kind of like horror thriller film that came out a few years ago. I want to say it was 2016, I think. And I've seen that movie once. I saw it years ago. I liked it a lot. And this seemed to be kind of an extension of that, still dealing with sexuality and but also certainly digging into body horror and things of that nature, disturbing violence. And so the fact that this came into Cannes and won and beat out so many other like films from highly acclaimed filmmakers and things that you would expect to kind of be more cliche, stereotypical Palme d'Or winners was, again, very shocking, really exciting. And Neon, of course, Neon picked it up. They have been really brilliant at, making acquisitions over the last couple of years. And this is something that they have really been pushing. And finally, it's come out in the United States. I'm not sure how, I feel like it's a fairly limited release, I'm sure. I had to go to an art house theater in Winston-Salem with my girlfriend to see it. Zach, you were able to go to AMC, right?
Correct. I saw this at AMC South Point on a fairly large auditorium. I mean, it wasn't their IMAX or like their first one when you go in, but
right.
It wasn't like it was the old 6-seater in the back corner or anything like that.
Right. So yeah, this is getting a push, and I'm glad finally people are going to be able to go out and see what all the fuss is about. I loved the trailer for this. That was really my only exposure to it. I didn't read any reviews. I didn't go digging and looking for plot details, anything about the cast, the production, anything like that. Because it came out of nowhere, over the summer at the festival, and so from there I was just like, okay, I don't need to hear or see anything else. Loved the trailer, thought it looked awesome, but it didn't reveal too much, and that's of course what you kind of want from a trailer. So going into this, I knew basically what I have already said, which was who the filmmaker was, what Raw was like. And I will say this film definitely like shocked me and impressed me. And when I say shock, it shocked me in a good way. And not in a bad way, but it also shocked me in a way that I felt like kind of unsure about. And I'm still kind of unsure about, like trying to like unwrap it and like unpackage it. I'm sure we'll be talking details in a second. But overall, this movie has been getting, of course, as I said, really strong reviews, 85% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, 90% audience score,
that's shocking.
I don't know how that's
90%
possible.
Audience score. Is it because like not enough people have like,
it must be fairly small sample size,
right?
And the people that went to see it knew exactly what they were going to see,
right? Like I enjoyed this movie, and I'll say I enjoyed it far more than I expected to. Like I said off the top, like I tried not to really I tried to go in blind, but I knew that it was like an artsier movie and not like my typical movie that I would like put on my, my watch list.
Yeah.
But so I kind of went into it expecting like, okay, because I feel like we have those movies like in the chat where it's like you and Jake really enjoy it or something, or like Josh loves it, and I'm just like, wasn't for me. And so I kind of like expected that vibe from this one, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. I didn't enjoy it 90%. I gave this a 78 out of 100. So, solid 3.5 stars, almost 4 stars. But so to see, I would be interested to see, if with this general like wide release, as that continues, if the audience score maybe dips down a little bit.
Right. Yeah, that definitely could see that and expect that. I also quite like this movie. I thought it was pretty damn good. I'd probably give it around the same score as you, maybe a 77 out of 100. It is certainly it's a lot of movie, and it is a lot of, it feels like several movies crammed into
Right, that's
one.
what I was gonna say. I was gonna say a lot of movies because
exactly,
you've got like, so quick, I guess before we get into it, when you look up plot for this movie, there's two different options. One is just like the definition of Titane, which says a metal highly resistant to heat and corrosion with high tensile strength alloys, often used in medical prosthesis due to its pronounced biocompatibility. And then which is just like obviously a hint at the movie, but it doesn't tell you anything about it. Then there's the one that's the real, following a series of unexplained crimes, a father is reunited with the son who has been missing for 10 years. So like going off of what we were saying earlier about a lot of movies, it kind of starts off with this woman who is, I don't know what you would even call her. She's not like a sex worker. It's like kind of like a stripper, but like kind of not, like, I don't know, like at like an underground like auto
like
show,
almost
and
like an erotic like dancer, I guess.
Right.
Like she is at this underground, and we say underground loosely. I mean, who knows how like
it didn't seem
publicized this
mainstream,
event It seemed fairly like normal. But she's a dancer, and they have like these car shows, and she's dancing on the car, next to the car. There's women. There's this incredible, it's simple but very effective one shot, long take where it comes in, it's following behind her. She was like walking into this building, and she is walking through, and she is, it kind of pans away from her. It leaves from behind her and starts walking around. And there's this music playing that's like excellent and like really fits. And you get to see all these different cars and these women. And it like really, I wasn't sure, again, because I didn't know much about like what the plot was. I wasn't sure how much this world or like this scene was going to play into the rest of it. And I'm thinking back on it now, I really feel like I have to see the movie again, just to, like, figure out all the thematic like underpinnings and whatnot. But she is like, on display, and there's like a part where, a man tries to touch either her or someone else, and they say, don't touch with, your hands, touch with your eyes. And so it's just like, it really kind of sets the stage for like this erotic, like film. And I thought it was going one direction, and then it like very quickly veered another, like in the next scene. And so I thought that was like a very interesting way to open it.
Right.
And of course, there is one element to this, when I say like, because there is, it is a sexual film, but like there is one element in particular, a sex scene, I guess, that I knew about. Like I knew that it was going to be in the movie. I'm not sure if you knew about this sex scene, but it was certainly something I have never seen in a movie before. And it completely, it sets the rest of the plot off into motion.
Well, my Letterboxd review, I wrote fast and the auto curious, because that's what Johnny's referring to here. She fucks a car, to put it bluntly. And
yeah,
I was not sure at first, like I kind of like, okay, she gets in this car and it starts bouncing. And I was like, is she meeting someone in the car? And then I was like, wait a minute. Nope. I guess she's just, we later see her like bound in the car and just like doing her thing. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is the direction we're going right now. But obviously this kind of, we've still got a ways to go before we get to the finale, but she later gets impregnated, and it turns out it was like, I thought she was just like kind of like, you know, I don't know. I don't know how explicit we want to get on this podcast. I thought she was just enjoying herself in the car. You know, I didn't realize that there was like that, because there's like, other than that, it's like a very like, it's a weird movie, but it's like set in reality, you know, but then like this fantastical element comes in where, wait, she wasn't just like, again, pleasuring herself in the car or something. Like she was having sex with the car, and the car impregnates her, and she has like motor oil inside of her and like metal, and I would assume Titane inside of her. But it's interesting because what Johnny failed to mention when he's talking about the actual start of the movie was that it actually starts like years before with this character with what's her name? I can't even not Adrian, that's what her alias
is. There's a lot of names.
Alexia, as like a young child in the backseat of a car, and is obviously like very into cars, and is in her dad's driving, and she's in the backseat going like vroom, 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 every time the gear shifts, and she like starts kicking the dad's seat, and everything, he kind of like flips out, turns to look at her, and then they get in a car crash, and they just go like straight Hereditary basically, in terms of like the accident and what happens. But instead of getting decapitated, she's just like very, very like devastatingly injured, but survives and gets fixed up with what I would imagine is Titane inside of her, this metal. Does Titane in French, does that mean titanium, if I had to guess?
I would assume so. Yeah, I don't know if it's a direct translation.
So but that metal is used to fix up her spine, and like you see kind of like this headgear on her as well. And so I guess that's like, again, in that synopsis earlier, often used in medical prosthesis due to its pronounced biocompatibility. So like obviously talking about like the metal's ability to function within your body. And so I'm assuming that is like the connection between her and the car to allow, like if there were, unless you were just going straight fantasy, that would be like the sort of logical explanation as to how she's able to be impregnated by a vehicle or by another piece of machinery, you know?
Right.
But I don't know if we need to get that in the weeds with the how. I don't know if you're supposed to get
no, there's definitely I mean there's a lot to get into. I mean there's elements of like, I mean a big part, I mean the movie is really, it's about a lot of things. God, we could really talk a lot about this movie.
Right. We're probably 20 minutes into this discussion, and maybe 15 minutes into the movie, and we're 2 movies into the like 8 movies that we referenced.
So the biggest thing that I did not know about or expect was, okay, so she's a killer. She is a serial killer.
Right. That's we're entering movie number 3 at this point.
I had no idea that she was going to be that kind of protagonist, which I was shocked by, like viscerally, because
also go ahead.
No, go ahead.
If you don't say it. I was going to say also, like the way that we're informed about this is that she's leaving work. She's sort of like a celebrity at this like car show place. So she's like signing autographs, taking photos with people, and she's walking out to her car after a night working, and basically gets like catcalled by someone, gets followed, and she's terrified, as most women would be, and gets chased to her car. And then this guy just kind of like gets her at her car, but she's inside, and rolls down the window, and he's like she's just kind of like, oh, here's an autograph, please leave. And then he starts kissing her and she kills him. And so like at that point it was like, okay, like she was killing him in self-defense so she doesn't get attacked.
Yeah.
But then it was like, wait a minute, like then we learned that this is not,
she's
like,
dragging him into the car.
Like, that one was like justified, I would say, like if out of anything. Like that was not just like her out on the hunt or something like that.
No.
And like we later hear like news reports of other murders that have happened and a serial killer on the loose. Yeah. And then we see other examples of her where she is on the hunt versus, you know, being attacked and forced to kill.
Yes. So yeah, it's a lot to unpack. And yeah, okay. So yeah, it starts off with her killing, and again, yeah, seemingly in self-defense, but there is a strange. She's very calm about it, for one thing.
Like she knew exactly how she was going to kill him and what she was doing and stuff.
Exactly. And then not only does she kill him, but you know, if you're killing in self-defense, you know, you would, you know, attack the guy, kill him, whatever, then maybe call the police or drive away, run away. But she gets out and very calmly drags his body into the car and then I think drives off. And I don't know if they showed or
she goes back in and showers as well before she comes back out.
Yes.
And then she fucks the car.
So yeah, so that's a lot of things happening in very quick, you know, succession. And there is leading into that. Yeah. Afterwards, you see the talk about the serial killer and all this other stuff. And then after that, we have one of the girls that she was working with, and she got her hair cut on her nipple piercing, which I thought was very funny, but also so like just the slightest, like the tip of the iceberg as far as what the cringe body violence that was going to happen in this movie. So she's meeting with her, and then she goes, they're having like sex, or they're getting ready to have sex and they're making out. And she goes and like is ready to rip off her piercing with her teeth. And I'm just like, oh my God, I was squirming in my seat. And then it's like, well, of course the girl is like freaked out and like weirded out, like, hey, like what the hell are you doing? Like what's going on? And for some reason she just sticks around, and they go back to the house wherever she's living. And then it goes, of course, too far, and she stabs and kills her again using the needle,
same method.
Like the sewing needle. She
tries to. She tries to and misses, and which leads to, instead of just like a singular killing and then she's out, like this girl freaks out, wakes up. Apparently, this is like how it's like it's gory, it's body horror, but then it's also funny because like she's like in this house and then somebody else wakes up and she has to kill that person, which is another
funny.
Like it's like she puts the leg of a stool in this person's mouth and then sits on it, and it like breaks their jaw and snaps their neck, and it's very gory. But at the same time, she's like, oh my God, how many of you are there in here? As people like continue to wake up. Yeah. And it like, so it's like, it's weird. You're like cringing, but also like, laughing at the same time.
It is funny. Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, this person's like all out, just like gonna kill everyone. And then after this goes home and burns her house down as well, with her parents inside. And so that's just another two people added to her hit list, or her manifesto, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And this is where it kind of just turns into, I don't know what number we're on, but like a fifth movie at this point, because there was a previous news report of a child who had gone missing 10 years ago. Family was still looking for them. And so while she's on the run, like people are starting to, they now know the identity, or at least the look of her as the serial killer. So she needs like a new out. She needs a way to figure out how to survive. And so she decides to just like shave her head, like cut all her hair off, break her nose, make herself like unidentifiable, and come forward as that little boy who had gone missing. And I don't know about you, they did not look alike whatsoever. Like I know we only get like slight glimpses of the little boy in the news report and stuff, But like obviously it's been 10 years. She's like deforming herself to look like him. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know if this was just me, if I missaw, but like the little boy almost looked like Filipino almost. And I was like, this is not like, I didn't like, there's no similarities whatsoever. And the dad, of course, 10 years later, desperate to find his son, is like, of course that's him. You think I wouldn't recognize my own son? And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Well, I will say I bought that he was okay with it. I thought you could kind of get away with regards to everyone else. I felt you could kind of get away with it because no one else really knows what this kid looks like. You know what I mean? Like it's all speculation. Like the only person who has ever seen this kid in person is the dad. And that is around now at least.
Right.
So everyone else kind of like, okay, whatever. But the dad, I felt, was so, he's traumatized and
he's just so desperate to find something. And that kind of comes up later.
Yeah.
When
of course
the mom comes to see and kind of immediately they're separated, estranged, whatever.
Yeah.
And the mom is like very clearly not convinced. Like she knows that something is up. And he's like, she tells Alexia, who's then posing as Adrian, and tells her like, I don't know who you are, but you better take care of him because he's like, so he knows that it's not you as well, but he's just like, he needs somebody and he's decided that that's you.
Right.
So it's not even like supposed to be, I know I was criticizing like, how could you believe that? But like, that's not the point. This is a man who's so desperate for love and care from some sort of family member that he's willing to accept, even not the family member.
Yeah. And there's like, I don't know. It's an interesting, because okay, so this is where the film goes into the next film. There's this, it's like a goofy, like dad and son, like dad and child, like relationship movie where, you got your kooky older father and he doesn't like understand you and like he's trying to do the right thing and trying to support you, but like you kind of want to be your own person. But it's like a totally like corrupted version of that. And because it's actually a serial killer in your house, and she does try to kill him at one point. And he just kind of, he's like playing along and like overpowers her and doesn't like take it seriously. And I thought like it shouldn't have worked as well as it did, but I thought it worked like pretty well. Like it always kept me on my toes and like interested. And I did grow to like have a sentimental, feeling for them as a pair and for her as a child that was, seemed deprived of like a loving parent. And then also him who had been deprived of being a loving parent because he, lost his son.
Right.
I was like amazed because I hated her, of course, when she's killing all these people. Like I was like, God, she is like a monster. Like she is a total sociopath. And
the fact that like on top of killing the people, she initially is like manipulating this man and just using him to further herself and like
exactly
for self-preservation. But then, like you said, they're the same way that you kind of warm up to them, she warms up to him as well. And I don't know if that is because of like genuine care. I'd like to think it is because of like a genuine connection and care for him. But I mean, she does benefit a lot from his protection, his housing, like all of that as she is continuing to be a very, very pregnant person in disguise.
Right. And there's a twofold aspect of hiding and pretending to be someone else, is that she is a criminal on the run, which is enough, right? But she's pregnant. Like it's a cluster of issues. And it comes to a head because, well, okay, so all along, they're growing closer and closer. She is working with him. He's a firefighter and she's in the firehouse, and she's kind of developing a relationship with her fellow like firefighters. And then there's kind of conflict between some of them. It's like there's a lot going on. And then, as you mentioned, the estranged mother comes back into the fold for a minute. And then it's like she's also kind of looking back into the history of the lost son, looking at pictures and clothes and trying on a dress. And it was definitely like parallel drawn between having like a queer child and the situation that this father finds himself in, where he doesn't really know who his child is, and they maybe don't really know who they are either. And so there's like this very interesting comparison to be made.
Right. And it is also like he's so not the desperation that we saw previously of just like, give me my son back. But like, once he does get that person and it turns out to be Alexia in disguise as Adrian, the father is like so 100% like, I'm all in on this, like whatever you need. And it's like, it's heartwarming to see like, okay, we're in this very macho environment of a firehouse, and like, if you say like one wrong thing about his son, like he's gonna let you have it. Or like, nobody talks about his son, even if his son is like dancing seductively or wearing a dress or not talking or not being macho. Like, he's so like you talked about him not being able to be a parent who was loving because he lost his son. Like, he's pouring all of that love that has been not used for so long immediately into Adrian and Alexia.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way of summing it up and kind of breaking it down. And so I guess really to wrap this up as far as like the story, we get to, and I feel like we don't usually do this with movies, but this is such a weird mishmash that you kind of have to, otherwise it's hard
like,
to
as
really
we talk
explain.
about the different elements, we can't just like jump from one. It's not like a straightforward narrative.
You have to
we
explain
can just,
it.
Otherwise it would sound ridiculous to just hear us
and
talk
I will
about.
say, yeah. And I will say, talking through it like this and really breaking, like I like it more than I realized, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah, it is interesting. I would watch it again. I will say also, I tweeted about this and I'll mention it really, really fast. I have never had to do this before, but I got like 20 minutes into this movie, and I don't know if you can completely attribute it to the movie. Maybe I wasn't hydrated well enough. Maybe I'd been drinking a little bit earlier in the night. Whatever it was,
Maybe.
I felt like lightheaded, like sick, like faint in the movie theater. And it was after all the violence was going on, murders, gore, all that. And keep in mind, I've seen a lot of violent movies and I've seen a lot of gore, and I don't know what it was about this one, the way it was filmed, or like just the very like not low budget, but like it felt very real and like kind of like not like movie-esque at all. And so I walked out. I was like, I have to get the hell out of here. And so I was like, I'm coming back, but I have to go get some water. And so I went to the concession, got a thing of water, started like chugged like half of it, went back in, didn't miss much at all. And then like finished the water like during the movie, and I felt a lot better. But yeah, I was freaked out. It was definitely intense. No doubt. But anyway,
well, a big part of one thing that we have not mentioned in all of the gore and body horror, and this may be around the same time that you got lightheaded, but one scene it was the only time that I had to like look away and like wait for it to pass. But after she finds out she's pregnant initially, she uses the same knitting needle that she's used to murder multiple people, like by stabbing them in the ear. And she tries to give herself like an at-home abortion, just like shoves it up and jams around multiple times trying to kill. It doesn't work, as she will later find out as she continues to grow her belly. But it was brutal, and
that was brutal.
I literally like audibly groaned, like covered my face, looked away. Because that was worse than any sort of kill or murder or anything that happened in the movie.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm having a physical reaction like listening to you describe it. Um, that wasn't really that maybe that did bother me quite a bit for sure. I left right after the scene where she was breaking her nose and like altering her
Oh yeah,
face.
that was rough. She
Um,
tries to punch
which
herself in the face multiple times and it doesn't work, so she just smacks her face against the ceramic
yeah,
sink.
oh god, yeah, that was awful. It was like that scene from Gone Girl, but in Gone Girl they cut away. This was like
Yeah.
her smashing her face for like 5 minutes straight. Um, but yeah, so this all builds up with the pregnancy. To of course her father finds out. I say her father, the dad, the guy that she is living with, finds out that she is pregnant. She is a woman. Um, and this was where it like all came together because at this point I wasn't really sure what to make of their relationship. I was moved by it, but I wasn't like I was conflicted, of course, because she is a bad person and like done horrible things. He seems like a good guy, but has his own like kind of checkered past potentially, at least as a father figure, and a husband. But like, so they he realizes they come together. It's kind of like this big moment of shock, and there's like no hiding it anymore. Like this baby is happening, it's coming, and the body horror with this baby throughout the movie is definitely some of the most disturbing like stuff. But it was really like it comes down to it, like they are going to deliver it and he is there and they like are just talking to each other and he learns her real name for the first time and he's talking her through it. He says it's gonna be okay, like you can do this, like push, and like hand in hand. And it was just like, okay, I was like, this is believable. Like this feels like it's come together and I have no idea what the hell is about to come out of this woman. But like it's happening and she gives birth and he takes the baby and she dies giving birth. Like I don't think they even like talk after the baby comes out. Like I think she's already like dead, um, at least from what I can remember. And so he takes the baby in his arms, and I can't remember what his last words are, like what the last words of the film are. But he's talking to the baby and like kind of comforting it, and he lays down next to her, and the baby it has like tight like a metal spine that's kind of like poking out. And so that's how it ends. Well, how
And
did you feel? I'm going to talk more about my feelings in a second, but like,
yeah,
what were your thoughts?
I mean, through like you mentioned, like throughout, as we kind of get these hints, not hints, but like in isolation, when Alexia is alone, she like unwraps this tightly bound wrap that she keeps around her breasts and her stomach to kind of to make her blend in with the men. And it's just like her body is in such horrible shape, being so compressed all the time, and like this baby is not doing her any help. As far as I think it's not just the baby in general, but because it is a car baby, that like she's like lactating like motor oil, and she's got like awful stretch marks on her stomach. But then when she's giving birth, it's not like the traditional. She has like not a not planned
stomach is like
C-section.
hatching.
Right. She has like her stomach literally just like splits apart in multiple places, and the baby, which we never see really, like, so
Not fully, no.
yeah, so I don't know if it has a car for a face or what, but but it comes
Well, I'm
out through
glad.
her stomach. And that was like very, very graphic and gross as well, compared like that and the attempted abortion are like the two most disturbing things here beyond any of the murders. But I don't know, they're obviously sad that there was never really like closure. I guess there was closure, the father accepting her for who she was and helping her give birth, but that's the end. And the father gets his child that he'll get to raise. I assume he'll raise the child like from birth, so he'll get to like make up for all the lost time that he had. But just it was just kind of like, all right, that's the end.
Yeah, and that was the end. as you said, it did kind of wrap it up pretty much as well as you could have. I thought it just kind of everything evened out. My feelings about both characters were kind of validated. I thought that they both kind of got what they deserved, I suppose, out of it. She was not a good person. She was a killer, and you know, she may have been traumatized as a child. She may have never been loved. But ultimately, she did terrible things. And so her dying after developing this relationship and this kind of loving affection with this older man, this like father figure, but not being able to be like continue on. Oh, I'm a good person now. I'm going to be functional like in society. I'm going to be a mother. Like that wouldn't have felt like honest, I don't think. And
Right.
you know, on the flip side of that, he now, you know, delivers the child. He's there at the birth. He's there at her death. He has this relationship with her as, you know, a child like figure to him, but now he gets an actual newborn that he can take care of and raise as his own. And you know, I thought that was it. It just felt right. Like I thought that was. I think if a movie sticks a landing, that's the best thing it can do, and it leaves you feeling satisfied walking out. And I felt that. I think even now, more talking about it and thinking about it, I really liked where it ended up.
Yeah, I mean, now that you have said that, I totally agree and understand with what you're saying about like it wouldn't have, like if there had been okay, now she survives the pregnancy and now we live happily ever after, like that wouldn't have felt genuine or in line with the rest of the movie. So I'm with you there. But I will say I will stand by my all right, that's the end, that's the movie, because this movie was a lot of movie, a lot of movies. And I'm very glad that I did go into it as blindly as possible so I could just kind of go with the flow instead of have my preconceived notions.
Yeah, no, I think that's the way to go. And I will say, not
so listen to this podcast after you've seen it, because we just talked about the whole thing.
I will say that's probably not the best way to go in for everyone. I would certainly like
have some sort of understanding
warning.
about have some sort of understanding about what you're getting yourself into and know that it's going to be graphic and crazy, but don't look up any plot or anything.
Right. But yeah, it's one of the better films I've seen this year. Like I don't think I could really cap about that. I think that it is so
you heard
unique
it from Johnny. No cap.
No cap. It's so unique and strange and like ambitious and audacious. I just thought I really respected it more than I liked it, at least in the theater. And I feel like, but now I do like it. And I still liked it even before we started talking about it. But I would certainly watch it again. I would recommend it for anyone who can stomach it. Because I guarantee you're going to see stuff that you've never seen before, and I guarantee you will not forget it. So I think if nothing else, I mean that's worth saying. I think you can't say that about hardly any movies these days anymore. So that's the highest acclaim I can give.
Well, there you have it.
Also, it has to be said that Julia Ducournau, holy hell, like writer, director, she is going to be, she's young. She is going to be very interesting and exciting to watch for many years to come, hopefully.
Fingers crossed. I mean, I haven't seen Raw. Have you? You said you have seen it once.
Yeah.
But maybe after this,
on Netflix now, I think so.
I'll add that to the list and check it out. But 78 out of 100 for me. Johnny, you were right around there as well. So as long as you are as long as you know what you're getting yourself into, Johnny and I would both recommend this, I would say.
Indeed.
Well, thank you all for listening. Thanks for tuning in week in and week out. We appreciate the support and could not do it without you.
Yes, thank you all for putting up with us. To put up with us some more, go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, like us on Facebook, if those things still exist. Subscribe on YouTube, where you can find all of our podcast episodes, and those accounts can be found at Inside Film Room.
And like Johnny mentioned on Twitter, we have multiple giveaways running right now. We have a free guy giveaway. We have a Space Jam and Space Jam: A New Legacy giveaway. We've got a couple more coming up soon. So be sure to follow us there. And while you're at it, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, anywhere you can find a podcast. We are there. And come back next week as we will be discussing the long-awaited final Daniel Craig Bond film, No Time to Die. We will see you then.